Hi guys, in today's video I'm going to show you how you can extract a bass line from a stereo mix using Logic Pro 11 stem splitter and convert it into a MIDI track using the flex pitch function. So you can take something like this and turn it into something like this. Let's jump in. Okay, so here we are in Logic. You can see I've got an audio track set up there, and here is my audio file, Mr. Moon, we're going to be working with for this demo. I'll drag that in, and that's now imported that audio onto my new track. So let me just play that and let's have a listen. Now I just wanted to show you this. It's out of time with the metronome. That's going to be a problem for us when we're editing the MIDI data, so I'm just going to quickly show you how to overcome that. So Logic can automatically pick up the tempo of the audio file that we import, and to do that all we have to do is come up here in the transport window, hold down the mouse button there and choose automatic mode. It changes to orange, and if I now pull up my audio file, Mr. Moon, and drag it in, it was analysing it there, but now it comes up with this option to edit the downbeat and tempo. So let's show that. And you can see here it's actually analysed all the transients in the WAV file, and it's come up with a tempo of 171. Now that's going to be a bit quick. So what we can do is actually here you've got the option to either multiply it by 2 or halve it, divide by 2. So if I click there, it's actually giving us a tempo of 87.9, and it's played in double time in places, but that just gives you a bit of flexibility there. So you can see that in our region it's now showing 87.9, but up in our track window it's actually still showing as 171. So to apply that, all we have to do is click on edit over here, and you've got apply region tempo to project tempo. So if I click on that, I can just then click apply, and now we've got a tempo of 88 beats per minute. If I click off of the edit window there and just show you, it is slightly variable because this was a live band, but if we have a listen now, the metronome should be in time. Excellent. Now we can jump in and start editing the audio. So now we want to extract the bass line from our stereo audio track. Before I do that, I'm just going to quickly set the tempo back to keep. And now to extract the bass line, I can simply click on the region, and we're going to use the stem splitting function within Logic, a fantastic feature that was recently introduced. And we can do that by control clicking on the audio region, come down to processing and select stem splitter. Now this offers 4 options. We've got vocals, drums, bass and other. And if I just hit on split, you can see what this is doing. Very, very simple, very, very quick. There's no sort of heavy lifting from me there. Logic's doing all the work. And it's separated out the vocals, the drums, the bass and the other instruments. So let's just have a listen. So I've got the drums, the vocals there, and there is the bass, and that's what we're looking for. We've got guitars and keys on this track here, but today we're going to be working with the bass. So that's given us exactly what we wanted. The bass player played a really nice session on this demo track. Now we're looking at potentially re-recording it, and wanted to be able to edit and work with that style that he brought to the session. So I'm going to show you how to do that next. So the next thing I want to do is now extract the MIDI data from that bass track. So what I can do is firstly just hold down Option, and I'm going to drag down the bass track just to make a copy. I can then close the stem stack there. What I'm now going to do is just go into the edit view of my track. So I select the region, push E. That's opened up on the track window for me there, but if it comes up with smart tempo, just make sure that you have got track selected. The next thing I want to do is just click on this little icon here, which turns on flex time. So if I turn flex on, it analyzes the track, and you can use this to correct timing, and there's tons of functionality within the Flex tools that are built into Logic. Some really cool stuff there. But what we want here in this little drop down is Flex for pitch. And so it's now going to allow us to edit the pitch. Now, one thing to note is in this view, sometimes it doesn't by default show you the MIDI notes. What should now happen, it should show us the MIDI notes against the piano roll. So if that does happen, just switch off and on the flex time, and there you go, your MIDI notes have appeared. What it's done, if I zoom in, it's analysed the wave file, and it's essentially turned all of those notes into pitched MIDI data. So we could now export that MIDI data and use it with our own virtual instruments, any instrument we wanted. But before we do that, we're going to need to do a little bit of editing, because sometimes Logic doesn't get it quite right. So I'll just show you an example of that. If I zoom in here and I'll start playing the track, I want to turn on my catch playhead settings, and in fact I'm going to control click here and catch when moving playhead for this. What we can see is that it's picked up a MIDI note with each of the transients here. But as you can see here, it's actually introduced some ghost notes, if you would call them that, where the note has stopped. Now, if we just converted that directly into MIDI data, it would play a note here, and we can see by the waveform there's only actually one note there. Now, this editing is a lot easier to do in this view, while you can compare it to the actual wave file. If you were to just export it as MIDI now and then try and work on the MIDI file alone, it would be a lot harder, I think. You'd have to listen to every note and see what's right and what's wrong. So the easiest way I've found is just to go through and visually start to check where these notes don't belong. So for example, this one here, there's no note being played at that time, so I'm just going to simply come in, select it and hit delete. Same with this one here, hit delete, and all I'm going to do now is scroll along the track and delete anything that doesn't need to be there. If you feel like you just want to have a quick listen, and hit play. So here we've got a slide, and we will have to do some editing to try and recreate those sort of bits, but I'm just going to show you a simple initial way of getting that audio in. I'm going to carry on through the rest of the track now. Should only take about 5 minutes, but I'll come back to you when I'm done. Okay, so I've finished cleaning up the audio and MIDI now. You can see effectively I've ended up with one MIDI note for every transient, every bass note that has been played, and I've just taken that throughout the entire track. So the next step now is to actually convert that into MIDI. So what I can do very simply within my track edit window here, come up to the edit menu and scroll right down to the bottom there, and we've got create MIDI track from Flex Pitch Data. So if I click on that, it just takes a couple of seconds, and you can see what it's done now is actually created a new MIDI track. I've got the piano roll open here, and you can see that all of those notes have been converted into MIDI data. You can see over here the instrument it's created for that is an electric piano. So let's change that to something a bit more suitable. I'm going to come in here, I'm on Logic Pro 11 here, so I'm going to choose Studio Instruments and Studio Bass. Now this is a really good bit of kit, and let's just see what that sounds like. Now one thing you may have noticed there, it's very low, and it's actually because this is showing the fretboard of a standard bass. We can see that these notes are not all triggering on there, so that means that it's probably lower than it needs to be. So what I can do here, just to push this up an octave, I'm going to select the region, hold down Shift, Option and Up, and that'll push it up 12 semitones, so a whole octave. Let's see how that sounds. And that's in line with the original. So let me now just bring the track back in so we can hear what that sounds like now. I'll leave the bass out. So we're now hearing the other instrumentation and the vocals along with our new MIDI bass. Climbing up their garden wall, trying to pick some So that's pretty cool. What we can now do, if we were recreating this track, I could replay in the keys, we could add more vocals, gives us a lot more flexibility. What I could also do is mess around with the instrument types. So let's say if I wanted an upright bass here. As you can hear, it's really captured the essence of the performance that was captured on the day there within that stereo track. As I mentioned at the start, that was just a demo track recorded in a rehearsal session, but the bass player had a really nice feel, and it allows us now to do a lot more with that and work on it in hopefully a new version of that track that we can develop. So I hope you found that useful. I think the flex pitch feature combined with the stem splitter in Logic Pro 11 is a really powerful combination, particularly on bass. It works great. Have some fun with it. Hope you enjoyed the video. Please do like and subscribe, and we'll see you on the next one. Thanks for watching.